Hey everybody, welcome back to the Buffalo Plus channel on YouTube. Mike Catalano along with Dan Fates. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. A lot going on here. Videos posted right now.
Yep.
Brandon Beane, Josh Allen, Sean McDermott, Von Miller, all talking about, well, golf and talking about being here and the draft. But a big topic of conversation on this day was about Jordan Poyer and not being here. Dan, let's set this up right away.
Yeah.
It's not about not being here for these workouts.
Yeah, that's where the reaction we're seeing a lot on social media is, what's the big deal that Jordan Poyer is not here? It's voluntary. Yeah, I get all of those things. Players miss voluntary workouts, but they're not always missing it because they're wanting a new contract. That's where this gets a little tricky. That's where this becomes more of a situation and not necessarily a distraction, but something that needs to be handled.
Yeah, because sometimes we get into, it's not distraction, it's April. Where it is a talking point, where it is an issue for the franchises, where they are right now in terms of the draft coming up, the plans that they make. Interesting to hear from both Beane and McDermott. Obviously,
Glowing reviews.
yeah, when they talk about Jordan Poyer, they're talking about him as a guy and as a player. They love him.
Yeah, love his family, love what he has done for the team and the organization over the last 5 years. That is not the problem. The problem is, and while I do believe the salary cap can be manipulated and things can be moved around, you can't pay everybody. And so that is where there does become this factor where Brandon Beane says, you know, this is just business. And this is where it gets in the way sometimes. And Brandon Beane is a guy that doesn't talk about contracts publicly, where Drew Rosenhaus and Poyer's side is making this public.
Well, and you need to if you're them.
Absolutely.
Now, I don't get worked up on the idea that it's the last year of a deal, because if you're a player, this is when you make your move.
Yep.
And it's even a little different for Poyer than I think it is for some other players. Look, you know, Dawson Knox is going into his last year. Even a guy like Tremaine Edmonds. These are young players with longer futures in the NFL. You're talking about a guy in his 30s. And he's got to get this deal done. You don't want to wait another year. If you're Jordan Poyer, in my opinion, as a player, you absolutely deserve to get paid.
Yep.
The question is, are the Bills going to be a team that pays a guy 31 plus going forward bigger money? That's a decision that Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott and Terry Pagula and Kim Pagula have to make.
And not only that, Mike, it's that, and it's the timing of this. It's not just voluntary workouts. It's also, we're right before the draft.
Yeah.
So the Bills have to make a decision. Like you said, there are safeties. There are players in the secondary coming out in this draft class that could help them long term, or that could be that guy that factors in immediately. So that's where, and I'm completely on your side. If you're Jordan Poyer, you need to strike while the iron is hot, and you want one more big deal. Like, you don't want this little 2-year deal or play out this contract. This is your year. You're coming off the season you had, all pro, to make your big money. And I understand Poyer's side of saying, I deserve more than what I'm making.
100% that he does. And Jordan Poyer was a 7th-round pick who got cut, ended up with Cleveland, ends up coming here. He's not the guy that has gotten the big paydays.
Right.
That has not been the case. So when you look at it, now from the Bills' perspective, as a team, in 2022, you don't want it to not be Hyde and Poyer back there in the secondary. You can say all you want. Sometimes it does become a little of, what's this phrase, cut off your nose to spite your face. Like, you make the move because you feel like you need to, but it hurts you. And that's what ends up happening. On the field, it would be hard to come up with a duo that works better in this season for those two guys. But teams make these decisions all the time. You don't think the Kansas City Chiefs believe Tyreek Hill on the field, no matter what Andy Reid says? It's a different team without Tyreek Hill. This would be a different team without Jordan Poyer.
And that's where the rubber meets the road. Like you have to make these decisions. And it's also something we've talked about a bunch on this Buffalo Plus YouTube channel, is that guys see other guys getting paid around the locker room. And I think that goes into it. This is not... this isn't some Deebo Samuel situation where a player is, asking to be out. That's not what Jordan Poyer's done. He has also said that he wants to retire as a Buffalo Bill.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't, and I know, like I said, if you're listening and watching to this point, this isn't something where it's like we have to pick a sides. No, but there is going to have to be a resolution to this matter in the coming months, because the Bills, actually I'd say coming days, because to some respects the Bills need to make a move by the draft.
Look at what they've done so far. It's rare so far when Beane and McDermott, when they've had a player that they parted ways with that has still been in the prime. Like the guys that have gone, a guy like Cole Beasley, who probably is going to end up on a roster, but he's not He's not a starter. He's not that guy. He's not a prime player in that way. Jordan Poyer is. He's an all-pro. This is different in that way, but they haven't had to do that. This may happen more down the road as the team gets better. The Josh Allen contract kicks in. All those things happen. So I do think eyes are wide open. I don't think it's at that point of, this has to be resolved now, but it's got to be in Brandon Beane's head somewhat next week when he's making these picks.
Brandon Beane said again and again he's such a big fan of Poyer and all of those things. He did say it's business, but he also said too, and we disagreed on this, I think Brandon Beane made a point to say, hey, look, other players our agents are calling me saying, hey, my guy deserves more money, or this guy deserves, or where are you thinking about my guy? I think that's Beane standing up for Poyer to say he's not the only guy out there that's asking for money. That he's trying to paint the light that Poyer's not the bad guy in this situation for asking for money.
He's definitely not a bad guy, and it doesn't mean that other people don't make that. I mean, Brandon Beane understands this is what happens in this league. But at the same time, it's not about just him wanting to get paid. Honestly, if Jordan Poyer was 26, they would have been negotiating a new deal and signing him. That's the issue. I know what it's like to get a little older, right? That's what ends up happening. They start to want to put you out to pasture.
This is uncomfortable.
No, but at the same time, these are decisions. These are the hard decisions. It's not easy to just part with a player, but it's a lot easier to part with a player
on his decline or early in
who just isn't good enough.
Yep.
Poyer's good enough. He's not in his decline, but you have to say, when is that decline? And do we find the next guy, Kyle Hamilton, in the draft coming up? I'll throw that out one more time. Plenty to talk about, plenty of coverage. You ready for Vegas?
Yeah.
We're going to Vegas next week. We'll be out there for the draft, so you get a chance to see all that coverage as it leads up to round number 1.
They have casinos there, right?
1 or 2,000.
That'll be fun.
So for Dan Fates, I'm Mike Catalana. Thanks for watching. Again, as Jenna always says, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you next time on Buffalo Plus.